Hey everyone, and welcome back to the series called Assembling. And this is our third episode named Structure. Well, let's discuss the structure of Salvation Hours. Every indie developer must have their own way of working for a game. No matter what type it is, no matter what genre it is, they will definitely have a plan. And I also needed a plan when I was working on Salvation Hours, and that was around 2 years ago. When I decided that okay, that's how things are going to be. This is the core structure of this game, and that's how I started planning out. I was asking in subreddits, I was asking in Discord servers, and I was actually a bit clueless back then. But then again, slowly things started to pan out, and here we are. After 2 years, I've completed Salvation Hours. So, let's talk about a few key points in this episode. First one being the engine. When I started out learning Unreal Engine, that was at the end of 2019, and that was Unreal Engine 4. And well, you guys must know that Unreal Engine 4 is very different from Unreal Engine 5 in terms of all of the technological features it offers. And while I was practicing and comfortable in Unreal Engine 4, I realized that I probably need to wait for Unreal Engine 5 and just test out all of those new features. I remember being very happy and being very excited seeing all those new features in Unreal Engine Early Access, UE5 Early Access, and I was like, okay, this stuff is good. It's going to be really good. And good it was, but with a big if, and a big probably, because Unreal Engine 5 on release was not that good. It wasn't that stable. But I worked with it somehow. I waited for a few months, basically a few weeks, to get that patch notes up and coming, and I started working out for Salvation Hours, all of the plans and everything, and designing the blueprints and level design when Unreal Engine 5.0.3 came out. That was in, I guess, June, if I'm not wrong, of 2022. Yeah. So that's when I started out working on Salvation Hours, and I had to make a good few choices. Now, you can have counter arguments here that why didn't I go with Unity? Well, simply I don't like Unity, especially with the recent fiasco that we all have seen, and if you haven't, then you must be living under a rock. By the way, talking about a rock, do check out Salvation Hours, link is in the description, it's up on Steam now. Anyways, Unity as a beginner engine, it's brilliant, okay? But Unity has a very specific audience looking for a specific type of game. I was not making Salvation Hours for mobile, right? I was not making it for phones and anything. I was making a proper, good-looking game. And I'm sorry, Unity back then did not had such good rendering capabilities, and they were not suiting me. So I decided that Unreal Engine 5 is the best bet. Although the road may be tough, at least it's a road that I know, not the unknown one. Anyways, so that was all about Unreal Engine, and since then, yeah, I've had multiple migrations and changing engine versions, which is not recommended, by the way. And if you are a new indie developer, do not do that. Just pick one engine and only upgrade if you feel like it's a dire need to upgrade, or don't do it. Okay, just be with it. Try to run that engine. Yeah. Also, if you are enjoying this series, and if you are a indie developer starting out and you want to make your own game, just give a like and subscribe. I will be making future tutorials as well. I just want to help other indie developers. And again, check out my game Salvation Hours, link is in the description. Now, talking about the second aspect of the structure, that is FPS. Not the frames per second, but the first person shooter FPS. Now, there were a few choices. What type of an FPS you want to make? Is it a true first person like Insurgency Sandstorm or SWAT? Or is it the split one, which is, let's say, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, not Counter-Strike 2, but Counter-Strike Global Offensive, or Rainbow Six Siege, or even older Call of Duty games, Advanced Warfare, Modern Warfare 3, the older ones, not this ones. So either I could have gone that way with the split first-person character, or I could have gone this way, which I did, the full true first-person character, like Insurgency Sandstorm. I'm not going to bore you guys, but it's just a simple explanation. When you have a single mesh, it's relatively easy to work with it because you have to make one animation and test it out just once. If you have two splits, basically just the arms and then just the legs, you have to test it out on the arms and then on the legs and then on the whole character separately, because it's a multiplayer game if you are doing that way. Mine was not. It was easy for me to have one character and adjust things accordingly, and it wasn't an easy feat, and I'm telling you, it wasn't an easy feat. There were a lot of issues in it which I had to fix slowly, which I probably won't discuss in this series. That will be for a separate tutorial series or a separate course, but I'm telling you, it wasn't that easy. You have to be very careful of the choices you make. But at the time it felt good. That true first person will be amazing. So I just went on to YouTube. I started searching for tutorials. I started making some animations, which again was my weakest point and still is. I can write blueprint code, I can make 3D models, I can texture them, but animation is not an easy thing for me. It's very difficult for me, especially in Blender. Anyways, I realized that true first person will be the best suited thing for me. When you look down, you see your whole body and it gives you a more immersive and a realistic feeling. That's how I went with it, and that's how Salvation Arts came to be. And other things about the structure of this game, well, that are simply a few subsections. That is that is location, chapters, and timeline, along with characters. So let's discuss characters first. If you have seen the previous episode, which I guess was named Copyright, you know that I had to change a lot of names and dialogues and everything. I also had to change the name of the characters, and that is what I did. For characters, I decided that Unreal Engine offers metahumans. If I can optimize them somehow, I will be using metahumans. And that was 2 years ago. And here we are now, and I am using metahumans. They may not look that great because of optimization reasons. Metahumans are not meant for video games. I hope you know that, and if you don't, it's fine. Metahumans are actually meant for virtual productions and other high quality stuff. They're not directly meant for games, and if you think you want to add them in your games, you should be planning ahead of optimization. This person of 2 years ago was not aware of optimization, but I am now, and I have optimized this game very much, especially the metahumans. But back then they were this easiest and simplest choice for me, and I went with metahumans because they were free. I was on a limited budget. Talking about the locations and the timeline along with the chapters, well, the chapters do exist, but they are internal. You don't see it, so it's like a developer variable, okay? Only I know which chapter and which segment you are going through, and I know which dialogue lies in which chapter, but you guys don't know that. But moreover, you guys don't need to know that because it's something that the player doesn't care about. It's a simple design choice. Again, structuring is all about the design choice that you go with the game that you're making. The player does not need to know it's chapter 1 or chapter 6, as long as the player gets a decent amount of experience, a decent amount of enjoyment from the game. So the chapters that do exist are all internal. You only get those sequences which are describing the timeline. This event that happens in Benghazi, again, if you're not aware, just check the previous episodes, you will get a good idea. This game is based on a true event that happened around 12 years ago in Benghazi on the American consulate. So this event that was going on happened in a span of a few days, and that's how I made it, and that's how I split the chapters and sequences. But I do have a proper cue showing you which day belongs to which event, and that's how the story progresses. Because it's a linear game, it's not an open world, it's a linear story game. It's a single player, tactical, story-based game. And lastly, locations. The only choice that I had was to make one singular map for Benghazi and just split out stuff, but then I realized that will be a huge map to render, which is probably wasting hardware resources, and it's not an open world game. So I went with 3 maps, and the core is based in one single map which has the annex and the consulate right in front of each other. The other 2 maps have other aspects of this story. I'm not gonna go into details and spoil it, but it's very interesting. You should check out the game first. That's it for this episode, guys. This episode was a long one, and I had to tell you guys about the structure and everything else, and I hope it was not too technical. I was just trying to describe how the process can be, especially for an indie solo developer. Anyways, if you guys do enjoy this video, give it a like and a subscribe, and check out Salvation Hours. Link is in the description. And see you guys in the next episode. Cheers.